Hello, my name is Mestre, and I'm going to dedicate this screencast to vocabulary learning in a second language or a foreign language. It is very difficult for us to just learn and remember many words in a foreign language, which is what we are required to do when we do so. So what we're going to learn here is how to create concept maps, which might help us in this task. Concept maps have been chosen because they relate to the communicative approach stated by Widdowson in 1978, which proclaimed that we need to take away all communicative abilities linked to our first language and be able to relate them to our second language, and therefore expand our language skills in a foreign language. Also, this was retaken by Ellis when talking about the pragmatic approach to language and the pragmatic approach to language teaching. And he launched 10 proposals for effective language teaching, among which the need for instructions to be based on previous knowledge, that is, in our first language. Concept maps were actually based on Ausubel's assimilation theory and Novak's theory of learning, which actually what they came to say was that we learn by reusing what we already know. They're based on a focused questions, is a thread throughout the entire concept map, and it specifies the issue, the issue that should be dealt with in this in one particular concept map. Also, it establishes relationship between the concepts so that we can relate them in appropriate ways, and we can remember the relationships. These, what we're going to be working with, are not exactly concept maps because not all relationships established between concepts are specified, and also because there's only one simple focus question, which is the particular area of knowledge. In our case, in this particular concept map, traveling and transport. So, as we know, in many cases when we travel, this particular one particular trip can be linked to one particular transportation means, and this is what we're going to try to learn and to fix in our mind. We have to remember that the verb that we need to be using is travel, and that we are going to focus as a way of an example on air travel. So we're going to be talking about words relating to traveling and transport, only focusing on air. We're just therefore not talking about water or land. So we establish our main concept, and then we relate to that a type of transport. That would be a flight, and then the way by which, how do we go on a flight, what type of plane or similar are we going to use. That way we can relate to a light aircraft, an airplane, a jet, and a helicopter. All these have differences between them. Of course, it's not the same to travel by jet than by a light aircraft, which is a very small airplane. Jet is a private big airplane. So they're different, and we could range them depending on the size, depending on whatever it is that's going to help us remember. Also, depending on the distance, we can talk about short haul or long haul. One is for more than 1,500 kilometers, and the other is for less than that, long or short haul. And these can also relate to the type of company that we're going to be using for our traveling, provided, of course, that we are traveling using public companies to do that. Which these companies can be called carriers or airlines. And also, we can go beyond and try and describe this type of a particular type of airline or carrier. And in this case, I've chosen to just talk about no frills, low cost, budget airlines, which are the same type of airlines that cost not as much money as the others. Let's put it that way, because they have no frills, which is that they provide no services on board. Also, we can talk about the type of professionals related to this type of trips, traveling and transport. And there are many, of course, but we have chosen to just group them into different kinds. Cabin crews, also called air crew, because it is the type of people who work while we are in the air. And then ground staff or ground crew, who are the people who are actually going to help us before we get to the airplane. As cabin crew, we can mention, for example, a pilot, a purser, or a flight attendant, which can also be called cabin attendant, steward or stewardess, and air host or air hostess. So they have many names, but just refer to the same job. And that's why I've just lined them in the same line and not separated them as different concepts. They're just different vocabulary terms, but not different concepts. As ground staff, we could mention many, but we just chose here air traffic or security, the person of the security control, check-in clerk, the gate or ticketing agents, baggage handler, avionic technicians, or etc. So as for the place, of course, we're going to talk about airports, and about airports we can specify where in the airport. So the terminal is the big building in the airport where you can depart from, right? So we just talk about the different areas inside a terminal that we need to know. We need to remember, and we need to remember how they're called, right? As the check-in desk, which is the first desk where we leave our luggage, the security control, which is where they check our passport, make sure that we don't have any dangerous items, customs, which is where we have to pay our taxes if we bought something particularly valuable, or passport control depending on when we travel. We need to go through that or not necessarily. And then finally, for example, the halls, departures or arrival halls, which is where we're going to leave from or arrive to when we get to an airport. Then we can talk about other places in an airport where we not necessarily go, but we might be carried to, but not go to. That's, for example, the runway or our hangar. But of course, in some cases, it can be much more profitable to just take a map or take an image and just place these difficult words to help us remember what they are and how we can use them. This screencast was dedicated to learning vocabulary in a second language for very particular specific vocabulary in a second language. Thank you very much.